mom, she's on the go. How does she do it? We all wanna know. Laughs and good stories, lessons and fun. How does she do it all? So sit right down, you're in for a treat. A show full of heart that cannot be beat. Grab your coffee, stay for a while. How does she do it all? With Olivia Howard.
Welcome to How Does She Do It All, the show where we shine a spotlight on fabulous single and solo moms and ask the age-old question, how does she do it all? So grab a cup of coffee, get comfy, and get ready for some real talk about motherhood and making it all work. And now, folks, let's welcome today's guest star, somebody I'm very, very excited to chat with, Joy, who I love your name, Joy. Joy, can you tell us who you are?
Absolutely. Thank you, Olivia. So I am Joy Mangano. I'm an inventor and I'm a mom and an entrepreneur. And let me rephrase that. I have been a single mom most of my adult life. I've been working and creating products and standing in front of America and actually the world in many other places for over 30 years with the products that I create.
I love it so much. As a fellow entrepreneur who's constantly coming up with ideas and plans and founding companies, you are like just my inspiration for everything. And the fact that you're a single mom also like could make me cry. So, Joy, what was your journey to becoming a single mom? How did you become a single mom?
Well, I grew up in an Italian family, and they just thought I was a little odd, like I didn't know I was an inventor until I was an adult. So I would change a toaster into something else, like a microwave before it was a microwave, and I'd blow up the toaster or, many other
Love
things. But I was raised coming from my family and especially the female influence to, get married, cook and have children. And that was the mentality that I watched always. And so after college, I got a job at Eastern Airlines. I worked at Kennedy Airport and I got married and I had 3 children and I cooked. and but that changed, when my children were very, very little.
Okay. So you ended up with 3 kids that were how old-ish were they when you became a single mom?
They were very young. So I had my children, the way I do things, when I decide to do something, I just do it. So I had my daughter, then a year later, my son, and then a year later, my other daughter. So they were very little. Christy, my oldest, was probably not even 5 years old when I actually separated from my husband.
Okay.
And
so,
that was unheard of at the time.
I was going to say that. What support did you have during that time?
So, it's a funny thing. It was, they used to call us the darling family in the neighborhood. And, nobody knows unless they're living your life exactly what is going on. And so, it took me, I had 3 children and I thought, it took me all that time to come to the realization that this was not right. There were many factors that were just crushing me. And at that point, I think the most important point that I could make to anybody, and certainly any, woman, that I had to really take a step back and say, what would life be like without me depending on a mate and me doing everything myself and taking that responsibility on? Can I do that? And am I brave enough? And I think courage is the big word for me. It's you have to be courageous to know that something is hurting you rather than helping you.
I love that. I love that so much, Joy. Okay, so you had these three little kids. You had to make money. What did you do?
Right. So, it was very scary. I was doing many things. So I just want to take a moment to, when I finally, I can remember it was emblazoned in my mind when my husband at the time, I was like, as if you've seen the movie Joy, he lived in the basement for a while. It was very hard to detach. And I think a lot of people can identify with that. But when it finally was that moment, I can remember him walking out that front door. The kids were sleeping, shut the door, and I put my back against that door and I just like sunk down and cried for an entire night. But when I got up, there was a new joy. It was a courageous joy. That moment will forever stay with me. And I feel that that courageous joy, the joy that believed in herself and depended on herself and loved herself, was there with me forever. It was the most enlightening change of anything that could happen to me, business, everything. For me, it was life-changing to discover I had to and could depend on myself.
Oh, I love that so much. So you're raising 3 kids by yourself. I'm gonna just ask the question, Joy. How did you do it all? Because also,
Yeah.
you are an incredibly creative inventor. When do you find time, or when did you find time when your kids were growing up to exercise your creativity?
Yeah. So first of all, I want to tell anybody, nobody does it all. I mean, we do a lot and that's critical, but if you feel like you can't do it all, you are in there with 100% of everybody else, right? So we have to set goals for ourselves. For me, it was very difficult. It wasn't like I was a nurse and that was a defined, category and job. I was an inventor and I didn't even know it. And so talk about courageous. I had no money and I had 3 little children. And I picked at the moment of this major life change to say, I finally am going to follow through with one of my ideas, which is ended up being a simple twist of a mop, right? So the Miracle Mop. And, for me, it was, I think back and I'm like, how did you even think that this was the time to follow through? But you know what? I have said all along in life, not only do you have to follow your instincts, your heart, but you also, if you don't try at all to do something that you really believe you are made to do, you'll have a 0% chance of, succeeding. But if you try, those odds go up. So it was very, very, very hard. I mean, you can imagine 3 little kids, no money, I used my father's, the back of his auto body shop to try to start this business, create the product and go through learning curves that I had never been. It's as I talk about it, it was seen almost unsurmountable, but I just believe you have to keep looking forward. You have to keep looking forward and you have to keep, being realistic and say, what risks am I going to take? And once you decide to go that route, try to be consistent with that and follow that path will change. But if you're consistent with it, and I was, and there were many obstacles, but it ended up there I was, years later, standing on a stage at QVC with this item called the Miracle Mop that changed the entire industry of mops, right?
Yep.
And it goes on and on from there. So I love what I do. And I think that's so important to tell anybody. At the end of the day, you have to try to your best, the best of your ability to love what you do. Because I did a lot of things to support myself on the side to make money as I was doing that. But, ever since I have been able to try to do what I do to create product to make people's lives better, I have had such a full life. I feel like I've been blessed and I'm just so happy. So happy.
I love it. I love it so much. So, do you have any tips or tricks or magical notions for any single moms who are trying to make their way maybe as an entrepreneur and raising kids on their own?
Yeah. Well, so it's not magic. It's work, right? But So, a couple of things. First of all, first and foremost, you have to believe in yourself, right? You have to be able to believe in yourself and depend on yourself and know you are capable, that you don't really need, you know, to depend on another person. And that's a beautiful thing if there's another person in somebody's life. But we're talking about single moms here. So, you know, in addition to that, it's really positive. I had somebody in my life, a friend, her name was Ronnie. And obviously, we were in PTA together and so on and so forth. And when I started this business, eh, she was such a positive person in my life. When I said, I have this mop and I think it's going to change. And she's like, great, do it. Right. And, when you have people around you, I surround myself with positivity. The negative is, I actually kind of stay away. And I find that my life has, as an adult, has always been surrounded with positive people that look forward and right and don't dwell on what's back, behind you. And I'm also going to say my children, when you have children, you're a single mom, they never left the forefront of my mind. I love them so much. And we developed, I think as a single mom, it develops a different kind of relationship, because when there's mom and dad, then there's the kids. But when it's mom and the kids, you become a unit together. And we called ourselves the core four.
Yeah.
And so that special relationship, when I talk about the magic, maybe the magic is obviously children are magical, right? And they, I think if you as a single mom stay grounded and keep your children grounded, if they have that one foundation, it didn't matter. They became and they grew up to be amazing young adults. And I work with my children. They work with me.
I love that.
And, my son's a lawyer but still came eventually to work with us. We have an amazing business now, Clean Boss. So I think there are so many pluses that come out of being a single mom. And one of them at the top of the list is the relationship you will have with your children.
Yeah, 100% Joy. I tell all of the women I talk to that. What about to dispel any misconceptions about single moms that are floating around this world?
Well, a misconception might be that you failed at a family unit, right? That's a big misconception, right? Because, we're so young. I was so young when, I started dating my husband and then, and married him and so on and so forth. And who I am today is a totally different person. And I believe in family. I believe in being loyal. He is still one of my best friends, but he was a better friend than a husband, obviously,
Yeah.
So, and I think that, there are a lot of people out there who are raising families on their own. And as I say, if you create this foundation and you yourself are solid within your soul, so to speak, and anybody can depend on themselves. You don't need somebody else to depend on in life. Truly. I mean, that's a great thing. If you have a great marriage, wonderful. That couldn't be better. But when that learning that when you discover yourself and that Joy could depend on Joy, right? And Olivia could depend on Olivia.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, who do you trust more than yourself, right?
Yeah.
So I think, there are so many of us out there. And one of the misconceptions is that we have to do it all, right? So you have to be great in whatever career you have, whatever you do as a professional, whatever. You have to be a great mom. You have to be, great friend. You have to maneuver everything and be successful everywhere. And that is a misconception. We can only do what we can do. And success comes on all levels. And there were days where if I actually got to make a great, healthy dinner for my kids, that was a successful day,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, so I do think that is a huge misconception that we have to do it all. We have to do it all every day. That the pressure we put on ourselves is really unfair.
Yeah, It is. Joy, you are just a delight. Obviously, you're a joy. But you really embody, I think, what so many women going through this need to see, which is that you really were at rock bottom and worked your way to the top and brought your children along with you on the ride. I think that a lot of women, maybe single moms, feel like they can't be the entrepreneur or the creative spirit because they have the kids at home, but you managed to do that all. And I'm so honored to get the chance to talk to you. And I feel like I just learned so much in the last 16 minutes. So
No.
thank you. Thank you for taking the time. I know you're a busy person. Where can we learn more about you if anybody's listening to this?
Absolutely. You can learn more about me. So I reinvented myself as along the way, and I have a company called Clean Boss, and we want to wake up the world to a new way of clean. So they're all botanically driven cleaning products that actually work better than the alternatives, the toxic alternatives. And a product called Eat Cleaner that is going to change the way you'll never take a bite of an apple without it. And so I have a partner. His name is Pitbull, a co-founder of the company. It may seem odd, but his mother was a cleaning woman. So the Clean Boss, our company, is exploding and we're very excited. And people may think the legacy I want to leave is this twist of a mop. The legacy I want to leave is a healthier world in cleaning and eating. And that Clean Boss is the legacy Pitbull and I truly want to leave to everybody.
I love that. And so necessary for any fresh starts or if you're moving or if you're going anywhere. And I'm going to guess it's very affordable and probably any single mom can afford it when she's moving into her new place.
Oh yeah, and you're going to save a lot of money because you'll understand how it's going to save you money because of the effects of it.
I love it. Well, we will definitely link to that. Joy, thank you so much for stopping by today.
Very nice to talk to you, Olivia.
Thank you, Joy. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of How Does She Do It All? If you loved this conversation, be sure to check out freshstartsregistry.com to learn more. Our theme music is provided by Matthew Searing with additional vocals by Jackie, Cheryl, and Jackson Searing. And remember, you are doing an amazing job. Keep showing up, keep embracing the journey, and we'll see you next time.